Good afternoon, everybody. I just had to check to make sure I was on here. I do it every time because I don't know. The computer it isn't reliable. So I have to check on my phone. So that's what I was just doing. It's a delay between the computer and the phone too. So it's a few second delay. So um, anyway, it's been a week. Uh, I can't tell y'all how amazed I am at the Lord's doings and how He's been moving lately. Uh, he mesmerized me yesterday. A surprise. Uh, which is usually how He works when you least expect it. He's solving problems that seem insurmountable. But you know, I learned this pattern that with the way the world work, way things work. When you get the test and you get a little test. Test is your reactions, and test is your ability to keep your focus, to maintain your focus on your discipline of following Him, walking the path. And He did that with the washer incident, and I had a momentary breakdown, but I immediately took it for what it was. I said, it's just I just gotta hang on, just hang on to Him. So that's what I did. And of course He fixed the washer and that was over with. And after I knew, I was like, that was just a little test. That was just a little test. Well, and then, every time after a test happens, you get a spiritual warfare comes. Because the devil don't like it that you pass the test. He wanted you to fail. So he starts to pick at you. And he'll pick at your mind, he'll pick at your circumstances, he'll pick through people, he'll pick, every which way he can, he'll try something. But main thing is that internal warfare is sometimes the worst. When he starts weighing on your mind and makes you start second guessing and doubting things and that the Lord's done told you. And he catches you in a moment when you're tired, like I talked about, the exhaustion, spiritual exhaustion, like David went through. You get caught in a moment, and you mess up. You make wrong step. But which is kind of where I was at last week. I was really struggling with it. With those thoughts, and with the anxiety I couldn't understand. It was like the anxiety hasn't bothered me for a while now. Why is it now? Why now? Well, the attack usually, as I said before, is proportional to the level of blessing that's coming behind it. So I was dealing with that. But what I didn't realize was that my nephew was fighting his own battle at the moment. And the Lord was working with him. And I've been praying for him for this whole year. or more longer than a year, but really hard for this whole year. And because he was lost, and I really wanted to help him any way I could, and I was trying, but um, I knew ultimately it was the Lord that was going to have to do the work. So yesterday, I got to a point where I was fed up with the devil. And I decided, I realized what was going on, and I said, I need to do something. So I said, I know what it is. I know why I'm feeling the way I am. It's because I haven't spent enough time with him. I've been working. I've been stressing. I haven't sat still. And I had gave someone else this advice this week. When they asked me, what do you do? I said, you gotta take time. You gotta sit still. So that's what I did yesterday morning. I came out here and I just sat and I did my study. I studied this chapter that we're fixing to go on right now, and I thought about David, and I thought about the Lord, and I sat here in the stillness and listened to the birds. And the Lord told me the reason that I was feeling the way I was because I was trying too hard. And I needed to just leave it up to him. And that's what I did. I laid it on the altar and I said, I'm just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other and get back on track. So that's what I made my mind up to do. When I got up and walked inside to get my phone, and I picked it up and I opened Facebook, and the first thing that popped up was a picture of my nephew. Common Grounds Ministries posted his picture saying that he has entered the rehab program. About knocked me over. I immediately started, praise the Lord. Answered prayers are always a great blessing. But it turns out that there's more to it than that, because it's especially prophetic. The Lord was sending me a message with it all. And it lines up exactly with this chapter, because what was my nephew was going through is perfectly in line with what this chapter talks about. What drove my nephew to the rehab is what this chapter talks about. So, because ultimately, he went to speak with my cousin, and my cousin talked to him, and he told him the reason that he was at his breaking point was he didn't like the fact that he had gained this reputation that people were talking bad about him, and that the way the term he used is that they keep talking about, how's he say it, talking bad on his name. So he talked to my cousin. My cousin told him, he talked to him about respect and how you do things that you earn respect, and how you do things earn a reputation. And the reason my cousin was able to talk to him about this because my cousin learned because he learned a principle that I learned from someone. I know I've talked a lot about my grandmother that raised me and taught me, but there was another one that I had that, though it wasn't many years that any of us had him, but I was 12 when he died. But my grandmother's husband, he was a builder. He was an MI. But I remember one of the most powerful things that sticks with me that he ever taught me was when he said that all you have is your name. When you run your name, you don't got anything. That's a biblical principle that we're fixing to learn in this chapter. And so that is the title of this message. A good name. Reputation, integrity, and providence in 1 Samuel 29. So, in this chapter, we explore the distinction between public image and private character, and how these intersect with the gospel and spiritual maturity. So in this chapter we have David, and he is with he is serving the Philistines with the king Achish. And because he had to flee, because Saul was pursuing him and his own people was trying to kill him, and so he had to flee to the hands of the enemy. To have protection to save his life. And he had become a servant to his enemy. But he is living this double life, this double agent position within serving the king Achish, because he's going out doing these raids, and he's taking care of Israel enemies at the same time, and not letting while he's fighting for the Philistines. So but here there's this battle that the Philistines are prepared for. They're fixing to go up against Israel. Israel and the Philistines are about to fight, and David and his men are marching with the Philistines, with Kish, the king, in the rear of the Philistine army. And the Philistine princes realize David is there. They know who he is. He has a reputation. And they don't like the fact that he's there. They don't trust him. They say pretty much, in the heat of the battle, he's going to turn on us, and he's going to avenge us, and he's going to kill us. He's going to fight. He's going to fight for his people. In the heat of the battle, he's going to turn. And so we don't want him with us. He's a liability. But Achish is like, but he's been loyal to me. He's He hasn't done anything wrong that, and David even says that, what have I done, and he's like, you haven't done anything wrong, but they don't trust you. And so even though he's been loyal to the king, and there's been no problems with him serving Achish, um, Achish, to appease all the other Philistine princes, tells him, you have to turn back. So, he's sent back to Ziklag. But, this is actually God's way of preserving David. He's intervening and providing David a way of escape so he doesn't have to go up against his own people. And, if he had fought with the Philistines against Israel at this point, he would have been considered a complete traitor to Israel. And but if he refused, he'd been he would have been denying the king that he served. So he they would have been angry. So God uses this jealousy among these princes of the Philistines to provide this way out for David. And so he's turned back. And that's one of the themes that is we see in this chapter. Another one is that the whole reason he was there in the first place was, because he had a temporary lapse of faith. And when he sought that safety in the hand of the enemy, and ended up living this lie, and doing things that were against his character, by being deceptive to this king when he was going out and on these raids. So it highlights that I guess I'm back now with the second part. Since I said, the devil was going to start monkeying, because I knew it. I seen when I was having a connection issue to what was fixing to happen. It shut me down. Well, I'm back. So we're in the middle of this message. A good name, reputation, integrity, and providence in 1 Samuel 29. And we were at a point to where we were talking about the danger of compromise, and how David had ended up in this situation where he was teaching us this, how tension arises when a child of God tries to blend in with the world. And another theme that we see in this chapter is this is really the major theme of this chapter, which is integrity versus reputation, where we see this, where, Achish gave David this glowing performance review, but he told him that he was as reliable as an angel of God. And, David's being highly esteemed by this pagan king, but at the same time he's living this lie. And this forces us to look at the difference between having a good reputation or having a reputation and true integrity. Sometimes people use their reputation. They might have a good reputation on the outside, but they're not doing things right on that uh, character-wise, and they'll use uh, that good reputation that they have as a mask. They try to make themselves look better than they are, and to make up for the things that they're doing that's wrong. That's another side of the coin of reputation, because you can have a bad reputation that follows you, even though you have the character that you're doing a good thing. Like David had this bad reputation with the Philistine lords that was following him, where they said there was a song that was sung that David slew his 10,000s. Saul slew thousands and David slew 10,000s. He had this bad reputation that he was a killer, he was a murderer. But with Achish, he had this good reputation, and he was living a lie. So even though David had a good heart and a good character, even when they were singing this song and he gained this bad reputation, now this is a reversal. He has this good reputation with Achish, but he's not living exactly right. So, but a name is more than just what people say about you. And we're going to learn that right now, because, as we'll see, reputation is what people say about you. And that's a shadow. That's not who you really are. But integrity is who you are when no one's looking. And that is your substance. So all in all, if we know that who we are is in line with God, then it shouldn't matter what anybody says about us. But the problem is when you know that you're not, and what people say about you become a condemnation of the devil. It's a weapon that the devil uses. If we prioritize our reputation, we can become performers. But when we prioritize integrity, we become servants. As I said, David's reputation preceded him with these Philistine lords because of the song. And even though he was their ally at the time, this past reputation made it hard for them to trust him. Sometimes with past mistakes, or even our past victories, can make others skeptical of our current growth. But on the other hand, a long-standing reputation for godliness can open doors. It can be an example to people. It can speak the gospel into people's hearts before you ever even say a word. That's the power of a godly example, of being one. That your life can become the living word. We see this idea of this integrity over reputation in other stories in the Bible. The other individuals. One of them is Joseph. Um, he was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, uh, and his reputation was instantly destroyed and he was sent to prison. And but his integrity remained perfectly intact, and he had chose a ruined reputation and a clean conscience over a preserved image and a guilty soul. And God eventually vindicated him. With Daniel, we see that he is an example of what happens when integrity and reputation align perfectly. His rivals tried to find corruption in his work to ruin him, but they found nothing. His integrity was so solid that his reputation became unassailable. But the Pharisees, on the other hand, are an example of reputation without integrity. Jesus' harshest criticisms were for them because they had this godly reputation but no integrity. He called them whitewashed tombs because they were beautiful on the outside but empty on the inside. And he warned that the reward for a hollow reputation is merely the fleeting applause of men. Men will praise you. But what about God? This relates to the biblical narrative in the gospel in that we see this as I said, David was provided this way of escape so he didn't have to go up to this battle, and because of this, God spared him from being partakers in taking part in the deaths of Saul and Jonathan, because as we'll see in the next chapter, that's what happens in this battle. And so, as we know, David did not want to raise his hand against the Lord's anointed, and we sure know that David would not have wanted to be part in Jonathan's death. So, by being sent away like he was, he was preserved from having this blood guilt on his hands. And it was also preparation for him, because of when he was sent back, what happened when he was sent back to Ziklag was preparation for the throne. So the connection to the gospel is that just as the rulers of the world rejected David, Jesus was rejected by the religious and political leaders of his time. David, the rightful king, was found among Gentiles. Similarly, Christ came to his own and was not received, yet remained the only hope for salvation. And David didn't deserve rescue. He walked into this mess. And this mirrors the gospel. God rescues us from the consequences of our own poor choices. And as far as application for spiritual growth, it teaches us to navigate closed doors. A closed door can be a divine deliverance. The Philistine Lord's rejection was actually God's protection. And it teaches us the myth of neutrality. We cannot find true safety by compromising our identity in Christ to appease the world. It teaches us God's faithfulness. Even when David stopped seeking God's counsel, God did not stop watching over David. Our security rests on God's covenant faithfulness, not our performance. And it teaches us to reclaim integrity. If your public image doesn't match your private walk, the path to growth is confession and realignment. And it teaches us to trust God with our name. A good name is more desirable than great riches, as Proverbs 22:1 tells us. If we look after our character, God will look after our reputation. For our reflection questions, we have to ask, how do you handle rejection in your life? Can you identify a time when no from the world was an actual yes from God's protection? And is there an area of your life where you are currently performing for a reputation rather than living from a place of integrity? How is God calling you to bring those into alignment? So as I said, what I've learned is that what my grandfather was trying to teach me was, when he said, "If you have a good name," was about integrity. He wasn't just talking about what people say about you. He was talking about the walk. And what my nephew learned is that the walk that you walk goes a long way toward what people say about you. He did the right thing. He chose that realignment to get back on the right path. So the devil can't use that weapon of condemnation against him anymore. So when people do, if people do talk bad about him, he don't have the guilt behind it, because he knows it ain't true. That's integrity. I love y'all. We got through the message. I'll see y'all back here next time. There'll be 2 parts to this.